What's going on, guys? Welcome to the weekly technicals, and today is July 22nd. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the dollar index, and we're looking at a weekly time frame here. And the first thing I want to talk about is we mentioned this a little bit whenever we had the last live session, how dollar index did trade up above those equal highs and hit the weekly ICT bearish order block. So if you look at this low right here of this candle, it comes in at 95.62, and then the high of last week came in at 95.65. So it dipped into it 3 pips and then immediately rejected. So we got the price action that we were looking for last week. The market traded up, cleared out those equal highs, and we finally hit that ICT bearish order block. So what does that mean going forward? I think we should see significant weakness in dollar index. So what I'm going to be looking for is this weekly low to be taken next. So that low comes in at 93.70, and then we're going to look for these equal lows here, which come in at 93.21. So for the downside, those are going to be the next 2 levels that I'm looking for. And if we get a break below here at 93.20, then I think it's more than likely going to go back down here to 91 big figure, and that'll retest structure. So if we do get below here, again, I do think we're going here. So I do see a significant range to the downside for dollar index. So I mean, just looking at it here, if we do break below that, that's like 350 pips. So that should lead to upside expansion in foreign currency. So we'll get to that in just a second. But dropping down to a daily time frame on dollar index, I want to just map out this daily range that we're within, still between these equal lows and the equal highs up here. And wait, no, that's not the level. Okay, so these equal lows to these equal highs, if you map out this range, this is the 50% level, 94.37, and that is the level that we were talking about in last week's weekly technicals video, that if we get below that, then we're going to look for weakness to take out the equal lows, and if we stay above it, we're going to look for the equal highs. And we did dip down into that on 7/17, so what is that? I think that was Wednesday. Traded right into it and rejected and then pushed up, and then we went for those equal highs, and we hit that rejection, the ICT bearish order block on the weekly time frame, and then we sold off from there. So I think once the market opens, what I'd like to see is them, get below this 94.37. I don't think they're going to hang above this 94.37 level too long. I think they're just going to, they may even gap down. And then start shooting for this low here at the 93.70 level, and then ultimately targeting the 93.20s. So I think we're going to see some nice setups unfold this week, just due to the price action that we had last week, taking out the equal highs and everything. I think it's ready to go lower now, especially with going into the aligning with the seasonal tendency. Dollar is typically bearish. So, we're going to be expecting weaker prices overall. But now that we've got that liquidity cleared out above the market, I think they're ready to go take the liquidity below the market. So I'm going to delete this fib now, just because I just wanted to show you guys what this black line is here. And this line right here that comes in at 93.70, which is also this low, is 50% of this ICT bullish order block here, which is the mean threshold. And you can notice that whenever the market formed this low right here, it immediately rejected and traded higher. So I think once the market opens, this is going to be the first target of liquidity that they're going to go for, is at 93.70 level. And then ultimately that's going to take us lower down into these equal lows at 93.20. So if we look at this on a 4-hour, the levels that I'm going to be looking for in order to for this market to find resistance and then trade lower, I want to see how the market opens. So I want to see, are they going to break below this low here, or are they going to take price back up to this up move here, which is an ICT bearish order block. So we can mark out that low. And that comes in at 95 big figure. All right, perfect. So if the market trades up to that level and we get bearish price action on a lower time frame, then we should expect weakness on dollar index, and we should look for foreign currency to be trading into support at the same time. And then we'll be able to, basically get in a buy setup on foreign currency as long as dollar is still showing weakness. So if we do break below this low here, they may not need to if we do break below this low here at 93.70, it may not be necessary for them to come all the way back up to this ICT bearish order block here, since at that point they would already be below the 50% of the range, and they would have made a lower low, and they would be below this ICT bullish order block here. So that if that lower low does form, so say we do gap open, and it would look like this. So we just immediately gap open, start trading lower. They could just push up into this, retest that level, and then sell off from there. So what I'm saying is it may not be necessary for them to come all the way back up here to 95 big figure if they do make a lower low here. So if that's the case, then we can just look for a retest of that 94.30 level, and that should present a significant selling opportunity where we should look for foreign currency to be trading into support at that same time. And then we can look for this 93.70 level here, which would take out that low. So going into the week, this is what I want to see. I want to see, do we trade up and push into this ICT bearish order block here, find resistance and then sell off? Or do we immediately trade lower, make a lower low, retest that level, and then sell off from there? So whichever of these two unfold, I'm going to wait. I'm going to let it play out. So generally, we don't typically trade Sunday or Monday, but we will let the market, do its thing. London session on Monday, and going into New York session on Monday, we'll see if there's a setup based off of the price action that we got so far. But we need one of these things to unfold. So we need to see them break below here, or we need to see them push up and find resistance here for a selling opportunity. With that being said, though, I don't see them wanting to trade higher. But if we do get back above this high here, then we're going to have to look for continued upside. But I don't see that being the case. Overall, I think we're going to get that weakness, and we're going to target those equal lows at the 93.20 level. So I'm going to delete these arrows now, but those are the two scenarios that I'm going to be looking for in terms of weakness for the dollar index. So that's how we'll get on board for that's how we'll view this for weakness, and then we'll be able to look at foreign currency for a potential buy setup. So let's go ahead and move to euro dollar now, and we'll start with the weekly on this as well. And what I want you guys to notice is we've taken out this low here, this old weekly low, and we've been hanging around in this range for a while now, just forming wicks. The market hasn't really, it's been trading within the range of 1850 and 15 big figure. So those are that's basically a consolidation, right? So we're just hanging below this level here. So what does that tell us? If we've had a consolidation for a little while now, for a couple weeks, we should expect expansion, right? Whether that be to the upside or to the downside. Now, with expected weakness on the dollar index, we would assume that Euro USD should trade should trade higher. So the fact that we've taken out this weekly liquidity here and we're consolidating around that level, I think this thing is ready to go. So I think we're going to go for this 1850 high here, and ultimately potentially retest the structure here at 1.2150. So in terms of upside objective, yeah, we're looking at about 350 to 400 pips on that, which is pretty much even with our dollar index expected 350 pip weakness if we do trade lower and go to retest that 91 big figure level. Again, we need to see them break below those 93.20 equal lows before that, but ultimately if we do get below there, I think that's what we're going to do on dollar index. So same goes for euro dollar, which is inverse. And if we get back above 1850, it's more than likely going to go to 2150, which would be the next level of resistance. So we can obviously get on board way before 1850. We just have to move to the lower time frames, but I wanted to start with the weekly here so you guys can look and notice the price action we've had so far, right? So if you understand the turtle soup setup, look at what we've had so far. We've cleared out this liquidity and we've started pushing higher. So this was a potential turtle soup setup, and they could save these 1.15 big figure lows, these equal lows here. They can keep them in place longer term and push the market higher since they've already cleared out this liquidity. So if they would have formed the equal lows right above this level, then we would expect them to trade below it. But since they've already taken out this liquidity here and started to push higher so far, I think I don't necessarily think they're going to have to come back down to 1.15 big figure. And once we move into Euro GBP, you'll see the strength that we have on that, which doesn't really lead me to believe that we should see weakness on Euro dollar. So in terms of going into the week, I want to see them break above this daily high here, which comes in at 1745. So if they break above 1745, that would make a higher high here, and then we can look for this high on this candle to be taken at 1790, and then ultimately clear up these equal highs here at 1850. And then again, if we get back above that, more than likely we're going to want to trade higher and start to clean up all this liquidity that's up in this area here. So that would come in the form of them, pushing back up into this level here, which is the 2250 level, which comes in at right here, which on the daily basis that we were looking at, the weekly basis that we were looking at, that was the old low. Okay, so as being a day trader, we're going to be able to position ourselves. There'll be multiple opportunities, I guess, for entry. If it does want to trade back up to the 2250 level, we'll know about it in here. But just looking at this price action, we've just got a consolidation, so they're building up orders right here. They're accumulating orders, right? So they're allowing people to position themselves short. They're allowing people to position themselves long. We're able to kind of see what they're doing beforehand by using dollar index as a tool, and then also really diving deep into price action in terms of the lower time frames. Always basing it off of the daily time frames, but we can really dial in once we go into the lower time frames. So looking on a daily time frame, again, there's really nothing too clear other than I want to see them start pushing higher and clear out the 1750 and the 1790 levels, which would push us into that 1850 level. Now, if we look on the 4-hour basis here, we do have this ICT bullish order block that was formed, which comes in at the high is 1673. So I'd like to see them push down into that level, retest it, and then start showing some strength. So what that would look like would be here, retest that level, show us some bullish price action, and then look for them to find support and trade higher. Now, if the market gaps up and dollar index is just really weak and we start trading lower right away, then if we do break above this high here at 1745, we can look for a retest of that level, or if an ICT bullish order block formed in this area, we can look for a retest of that. But once we break above that level here, I don't necessarily think they would have to come back all the way down here to 1675. But for example, if they keep this lower high in place, I would expect them to push lower and then find some support here. But if it's, overall, if it's strong and it immediately starts breaking higher, we may just retest this level and just start continuing from there. So that's what we're going to be looking for on Euro dollar. And now let's go over GBP USD. We'll start with the weekly chart again. So this one was beautiful. We finally cleared up that 1.30000 level. And that was those equal lows here. So we traded into it a couple weeks ago, and but we didn't really get a nice. In my opinion, we didn't really clear it out, because we just came below the bodies here, but we didn't really have a significant move below there. But if you look at last week's trading, we had a nice move below that, and then the market immediately rejected and pushed right back above these equal lows here. So what does that tell me? Well, it's telling me first off that, since they weren't able to close below these lows, that overall this pair here is in my opinion not wanting to go lower to take out this liquidity below the 1.28 level. So what I think is going to happen is I think we're going to start trading higher in GBP USD as well. And what's indicating that to me is we have these down candles here, which this is a series of down candles. It becomes an ICT bullish order block once this candle breaks above it. So you can see we traded into it here, again here, found support, and that's what led to that 1200 pip move, forming these equal highs here. So we've traded back below that, cleared out the liquidity, and we're back within this ICT bullish order block. So if they do find support here, this could potentially lead us back up. I don't know if they're going to come all the way back up here, but it could lead us definitely to sweep out the liquidity above this daily high here at 33.50, and then this 1.35 level on the weekly basis. So if we drop down to a daily, what I want to talk about here is this ICT daily bearish order block, ICT daily bullish order block that we had marked out right here below these equal lows. The high of this candle comes in at 29.66. So you guys can see we traded down into that. The low came in at 29.57, so about 9 pips. Traded into it and immediately found support and started trading higher. So we don't necessarily have the higher high in GBP USD yet, indicating that this pair is likely going to want to continue up, meaning they could find resistance here and sell and start trading lower. But ultimately, I think since we've shown support here at this level, and we've had a nice little pop up so far, I think we're going to get continued strength on this, continuing up into those levels that I just mentioned. But if you look at it here on a 4-hour basis, we've broken structure here. So the market was forming lower lows and lower highs, right? We traded into this support, immediately rejected, one down candle here, and then we broke structure on above these candles. So I think we're going to be heading back up into this 1.32 level to 1.32 to 32.20. I think that's where we're going to be heading next on cable. And ultimately, if we get above this high right here, coming in at 32.68, then I think that'll lead us back up to this 33.60, and then ultimately above here at the 34.40 level. So that's how I'm going to be playing this. Now, in terms of where I'm going to be looking to enter, I want to see the market trade back down into this level here. So that high comes in at 30.83. So if the market trades back into this and we get bullish price action here, I'll look to buy it at this level. But if we get further weakness, so here's scenario 1, we can trade in like that, find support, and then we start pushing higher. Or we start trading lower, and then we find support here at this ICT bullish order block. And again, this is a 4-hour basis. So we can find support there, and then we start to trade higher. So whichever one unfolds, it doesn't matter to me, but I want to see them find support either at this level or this level. Whichever one they give me, then that's the one I'll be buying off of. So for example, if the market trades into this level here, and on a 15-minute basis, it's showing me higher highs and higher lows, then I can look to buy it because they'll likely use this level as support and continue it up. Now, if the market trades into this level here and it's showing me lower lows and lower highs, well then that wouldn't indicate at that point, right? That would indicate weakness, so it would likely want to trade back down here, find some support at this level, and this is where we would look to find the higher highs and higher lows. And at that point, we could look for a simple retest of an order block or anything like that, buy it, and then look for our targets up here. All right, so that's how we're going to play cable. Now we will briefly go over Euro GBP really quickly. All right, now this pair here on a weekly basis, if you look, we've finally gotten some movement. So this thing has been consolidating for a while now, and we really haven't got any type of strength or weakness. So that's allowed Euro USD and GBP USD to basically move inversely to the dollar index and not really have this pair here, Euro GBP, determine its direction too much. So now that we are starting to push higher in this, though, we could see a lot more strength in Euro dollar versus GBP USD. So they could hold cable and a consolidation for a bit, since they've cleared out all that liquidity. That's very possible, and allow Euro USD to push higher since that one's been consolidating for a bit. So that's kind of something that I have in the back of my mind. But looking at this on a daily time frame, you can see that we've had pretty much strength all week, and we haven't necessarily broke above this high yet. So we have formed a lower high, but I think we're gonna get strength on this. Euro just looks strong in my opinion, so they may want to trade back down into this ICT bullish order block here before taking it higher, which could lead to a nice little pop up in GBP USD. So we will mark this out, and this high comes in at 88.75. Alright, so that is the next level of support that I'd like to see them hold. If we do start breaking below this, then we can expect them to just either hold this in the range or start taking it lower, which at that point, we'd have to kind of reevaluate our charts. But at this point in time, I think we are going to see continued strength in Euro GBP, which should lead to overall strength in Euro dollar. So where will they go? I'm going to be watching this level here on a daily basis because this is an ICT bearish order block, and if you look at it, it hasn't been traded to yet. So the low comes in at 91.16. Alright, and that's going to be the level I'm going to be looking for on the upside because we've been in this consolidation for such a long time. I think, since we are getting these first signs of strength here, if they start pushing it above all these highs here, then I think they're definitely going to be going to this level. Now, whether or not they want to come back above this high here, I'm not sure. But in terms of longer term objectives, this is where I think they're going if they keep pushing this thing up. Now, if they take it lower and start breaking below these lows here, then we have to move down to this low down here, and that could be our next level of potential support, or we break through that and continue lower. So again, this is much longer term, but I don't trade this pair or anything like that. I just use it as a directional confirmation for Euro USD and GBP USD. And since we are showing strength in this, I think we're going to get some overall strength in Euro dollar. So let's move to dollar yen. And if we look at dollar yen on a weekly basis, we've had this liquidity above this high here, so we've cleared that out now, and we've also traded into this ICT bearish order block. We actually have traded above the order block a bit. So notice the bodies of the candles did hold between the low and the open of the order block, but the wicks did trade through it a bit and take out the high on this candle. Not the high, I'm sorry, but the open of this body, and that's okay. Generally, don't concern yourself too much with the wicks. Use the bodies to to respect the levels that you're expecting them to respect, and we've seen that here off of this weekly ICT bearish order block. So I think we're going to get weakness in this as well, aligning with our expected weakness in dollar. So if we look here, we do have this 112.20 level. I'd really like to see them trade back up into this level, find some resistance, and then have another round of selling from there. If that's the case, I'm definitely going to be a seller here at this level. This just looks like a classic topping formation to me, and they've got a ton of people long, thinking that this thing's going to continue higher. So I'd like to see them retest that, hold it as resistance, and then we start to sell off from there. But if we just continue breaking lower, then there's nothing we're going to be able to do about it. We just have to wait for them to get below this level here, and then we'll look for a retest of that low, and we can look for continued weakness off of that level. But ultimately, I would like to see them push back up into this 112.20, which would provide a nice selling opportunity in my opinion, and we can go from there. So if we drop down to a 4-hour basis, we also have this 4-hour ICT bearish order block that comes in right at that level, so we can mark that out. But that's just the level that I want to be a seller at this week. So if we can get that, I think that we should see some weakness from there. All right, and let's make this red. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. If we get back above 1320, then we have to expect that they're going to go higher. But overall, I think they're going to trade back up into this and find weakness. So I know some of you are probably thinking, well, what about this ICT bullish order block here? Since I'm expecting weakness in dollar index, and we've had such a nice rejection off of this level here, I think that we shouldn't have to concern ourselves with this ICT bullish order block too much. But something that you do have to factor in is they could use this as support here, but just enough to get them back up into this level and then ultimately find weakness and then sell off from that level. So just because it's an ICT bullish order block doesn't mean it has to be the support that goes up and then ends up breaking structure here at 113.20, but ultimately we could see it find some support and then trade back up into this level at 112.20. So just to kind of illustrate what that would look like for you guys, it would just be, so imagine this line here, it's support, and then the market starts trading lower, right? We trade into it, okay? Now, most people think, once it hits that level, it's going to immediately want to trade back above for these highs. It could do that, but we have to look at what comes first before that level, right? We see this. What is this? ICT bearish order block, right? Does it align with our daily perspective, all that stuff? Yes, it does. So should we expect weakness there? Well, we don't necessarily know if it's going to form weakness there 100%, but if we look on a lower time frame as the market is trading into this level and we see lower lows and lower highs, then we know they're selling it, meaning they're using this level as resistance. So at that point, we should see weakness, and then we should see continued downside. So that's how I want to play it. Ideally, I think this is going to be the scenario that we get, but this is what I want to see happen in dollar yen, and then I'll jump on board that for a selling opportunity. But other than that, I'm just going to let it do its thing. Again, you guys know that I primarily focus on euro and cable, but this does look nice to me overall, so I would like to see if we can get that level. And if that's the case, then if you're in the premium group, then I'll call it in the Telegram group, and you guys will be able to act on that. So I have all these levels marked out on my charts, and these are the ones that I'm going to be watching for this week, where I'm going to be looking to be a buyer and a seller, depending on the pair that we look at. One last thing that I want to point out for dollar yen here is this high that comes in back here. We left that high here with this candle, so we are retesting that level, and we've basically closed the week right around that level here. So that could be enough to provide the support to trade us back up into this level here, and then see the weakness. So it doesn't have to necessarily trade into this ICT bullish order block, but this high right here that comes in at 111.40 could provide enough support for us to get back up into that level and then sell off. So just consider that. I'll answer questions right after I finish the technical portion, which I'm about to wrap up right now. I'm just moving into dollar CAD, and then we'll be finished. So looking at dollar CAD here on a weekly time frame, we've where did we go here? Okay, so the market traded back into this low. So we formed this low, we consolidated for 2 weeks, and then we sold off, broke that low. We didn't quite retest it here, but we did come up and retest it right here. So now that that level has been hit and we've shown weakness, I think we're ready to continue lower on dollar CAD as well, with that weakness expected on dollar index. So if you look at last week, we're trading up initially all week, and then we found resistance and sold off once we got above the bodies of these candles. What I want to map out is this down candle before this up move, ICT bear shoulder block, ICT breaker, however you want to look at it. And you can see once we broke below that level, we retested it with this candle here, pushed up into it one last time, cleared out the liquidity above this high, and we rejected and sold off. So I think the next level that we're going for on this is 1.31 big figure, then down here to 1.3050, and then we'll see if this ICT bullish order block holds as support. But ultimately, I think we're going to get these lows eventually cleared up at the 2750 level. So I'll just throw an X right below that, because ultimately longer term, like, I want to see them come back below and clear up all the liquidity below here. So if you look, we were consolidating for a little bit here. We pushed up, made a higher high, and we retested this candle here, but we haven't come back and retested this order block. So there's a lot of liquidity built up below here, and if we're going to see that continued weakness on this pair, this would be a good level to aim for, in my opinion, longer term, which also maps up with our dollar index expected about 300 to 400 pip weakness. That's about 400 pips away as well. So in terms of getting on board dollar CAD for an entry opportunity, looking at a 4-hour basis here, I don't necessarily see anything clear that I want to act on at the moment. I'd like to see them make a lower low here below the 3050 level, and then we can use that as a potential scenario to get on board as a seller once they retest that level, as long as we're seeing weakness on dollar index. But up until that point, I just kind of want to let it do its thing, because I don't like this pair at the moment. Overall, I'd much rather be trading euro, cable, and dollar yen. Those are much clearer to me. But if we do get that expected weakness on dollar index, I would expect this scenario to unfold, but I won't be actually getting in this market until I have this lower low form. Otherwise, I'll just be watching it, and I'll talk about it if there's anything that unfolds. But other than that, it's not really going to be something that I'm actively looking at to trade. So let me take this off, and that is going to be it for the technicals portion of the video. So I will go ahead and move into the Q&A portion now. Just give me 1 second, grab a sip of water, and then we'll start it up.